Wyndham Clark is the newest major champion. The American is the 2023 US Open winner after beating four-time major champion Rory McIlroy. Clark held his nerve in the final round, finishing on even par for a 10-under par total for the tournament. McIlroy had a late charge for that title, but he couldn't do enough to win his next major. And of course, he hasn't won one since 2014. Here to speak to us about the last 4 days, the sports journalist Michael Vlismas. Michael, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to Wyndham, I want to talk about the South African contingent. Some of the guys that were competing, I mean, one of them being Deon Germeshees. A lot of people that follow golf, although sort of, not really, don't necessarily know the name Deon Germeshees. A lot of people also may not know the name Aldrich Potgieter. Did we send strong enough golfers to the US Open to ensure that they compete, considering that 3 of the 4 got cut? Michael, just making sure that you can hear me. All right, it seems as though we've lost there, of course. Ah, there he is. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Ah, we can now, yes. I was just asking, considering that we had 3 of our South African golfers getting cut, you know, did we send a strong enough contingent to the US Open?
Well, those were the golfers that qualified. So you know, they did what they needed to do to get to the US Open. Deon Germeshees won his qualifier in England to make it there. Yes, they were experiencing, many of them were debuts at the US Open, and that is big enough for any professional golfer. So yeah, it was a very young contingent, one of the youngest contingents we've ever had at a major championship. I think the average age of the 4 golfers was 23, brought down significantly by 18-year-old amateur Aldrich Potgieter, who was the only one to make the cut. But yeah, that was the reality of the situation. Is those are the 4 golfers that qualified for this major for South Africa.
Now, let's look at Wyndham Clark. He's winning his first major. Did we see it coming? Did the guys that you would say are the favorites to win a major, like Rory McIlroy, just not play the best kind of golf, essentially allowing Wyndham Clark to, you know, to have a good time on the course?
It was such an interesting major championship. You know, the golf course, the conditions, it really made for a very interesting leaderboard. Yeah. At such low scoring, some of the lowest scoring in US Open history, record scoring for the championship, average scoring of 71, and yes, Wyndham Clark, you know, he won his first PGA Tour title a month ago, a Corn Ferry graduate, and took a long time to find his feet, and now is a major championship winner as well. You've got, you know, in that top 5, you've got 3 major champions that finished in the top 5, world number 1 and 2 finishing in the top 10. So there was enough pressure around him. And yeah, I would have expected, you would have really thought Rory McIlroy just needed a round of under par to get the deal done for him. And he looked like somebody that was trying to win the first major. And obviously he's looking for number 5. But Wyndham Clark doing exactly what he needed, scrambling so well over those closing holes.
Michael, will Rickie Fowler ever win a major? What happened in that final round? I mean, you're there or thereabout, looking like you could potentially take this title, only for you to cut a 5-over in the last 18 holes. Where did he lose it?
You know, it looks like a major setback for Rickie Fowler, but it's actually a massive step forward for him. When you consider that he wasn't even exempt for the US Open last year, and, you know, that's how bad his form was. He's been in a very deep hole for a long time, but he's done a lot of good work with Butch Harmon to get back to the point where he is now, to be, you know, leading through 54 holes. And yes, he's definitely lost it over that final round. But I think, you know, while gutted with that, you know, not walking away with the trophy, to actually be in contention again in a major championship is a huge step forward for Rickie Fowler. You've got to feel he has a major in him. I think since 2010, he's had the most top 10s in majors without winning of any player in that time frame. And I think this was a huge step forward for him in the game in terms of where he was, and now to be contending in majors again.
Well, we can only but wait and see if Ricky Fowler will indeed get that monkey off his back and win his first major title. Michael, we leave it there with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure speaking to you here on ENCA. Sports journalist Michael Vlismas coming to us, of course, from Somerset West, talking to us about the US Open that concluded in the wee hours of this morning.